Hey everybody, welcome to episode 127. I want to keep going with this classic video game stuff. Specifically, I know I mentioned it before, I think I told this story twice in videos, and I'll touch on the story again, but I wanted to really go in more detail on the Colecovision because personally, of all of them, it's my absolute favorite. It was my first real video game console, and everything, the time period, the everything about it, the packaging of the game, the packaging of the console, the packaging of the games, the advertisements, the way that it was marketed. I'm going to get into details with stuff like I don't know if you remember Spectrovision, when that kind of came about towards it wasn't really necessarily the end, but kind of like sort of the end of when I was into it, when I had it. Handheld game, Coleco handheld games, the Coleco tabletop games, the Atom. Get into more detail on the Atom. I never had it, wanted it, and if you watched my Commodore video, you know how I was about those computers back then, and I'll get into as much information as I know about the Atom without actually having it. I also want to, if I have time, if not, I'll make it a separate video. I'll do a little more research on it, but I can briefly touch on the Texas Instruments computer that I did have, because I found some images and I found some stuff, and what's funny is I swear, now I'm not saying it didn't happen, but I thought that Spectrovision also made, Spectrovision's like this third-party game company that made games for Colecovision and Atari and television. And I swear that they made Texas Instruments games as well, cartridge-based, because you could use cartridges with the Texas Instruments because it had a cartridge port in it. Anyways, I'll get to that in a little bit. So let's go into the ColecoVision. So I guess probably the easiest thing is to switch right over to the other screen. I'm going to show some images I kind of collected together to kind of give you a visual on it, and I'm also going to put the I found a cool website that's like a database of all things ColecoVision. I didn't see the Atom on there, but all the games are on there, including the Spectrovision games, so we'll get to those. So let me switch you over here. We'll go to my file folder with these games, or with all the pictures in here. So that was the box for ColecoVision. Now the thing that really made ColecoVision stand out from the Atari in games like Intellivision and the Odyssey, stuff like that, was that the whole point, the whole marketing spiel was it's the arcade games in a console, or the arcade games at home. And obviously, with pumping quarters into video games and going to arcades and stuff, I could see where parents were like, hey, I might putting up this investment if my kid's going to play these arcade games at home and not go to the arcade because I don't want to keep giving them all these quarters and stuff. Which, with us and my family and me and my sister, I don't know about my sister, but me specifically, it didn't really. It sort of worked, but I still was going to the arcades because the arcades. And that's the thing about an arcade today. And I know the arcades downtown Bay City, and I just passed it the other day. We were down there, and I was just like, should I go in? I don't know. But anyways, it was a place to go, and that was a thing, and it was somewhat social. I mean, for the most part, because if it was busy, it was hopping. You'd roll up on a game, and and somebody be playing it who's really good, and they've got their quarters all put up on the thing, so that shows how many games they're playing. They're hardcore. They're going to be there for a while, and you would just watch them, and you'd get excited when they get excited, and and it was just kind of like a spectator sport almost. And then you got your chance. I get my chance to step up there, put my quarter in, die in the first 5 seconds. All right, go to the next game. So. That was the thing. So, and obviously I can play arcade games at home. I can get better at them. So then I could practice, without spending quarters and, having the pressure of everybody watching you. Because like I said, the arcade games places got pretty hopping, especially on the weekend. There's a crowd. And if you had stage fright, you had other people watching you play the game, it kind of threw you off. But it was a thing. That doesn't really exist. I mean, it does in a certain regard. I mean, obviously people watch people online on YouTube play video games, and there's events, like the League of Legends, that stuff. I mean, that stuff still exists, but not in an everyday, kind of domestic situation, where you're just a kid and you go through the arcade at the mall or the bowling alley. We had a lot of arcade games at our bowling alley, or sometimes they had dedicated arcade games at a lot of the bars, like the pizza / bars. Petker's was a big one for me. Neely's Pub, that my dad would go to. A lot of the bars, would have like a game room with like 5 or 6 games set up, and you could go in there and play, because the kids, while the parents are out doing whatever, watching a band or just getting drunk, and they usually had pizza at most of these places, so it was like pizza night out. I miss that too. I mean, that was a big thing as well. And so I'm not going to totally get into, woe is me, I miss, the past type of thing, although it'll come up obviously a couple of times here. But let's look at the stuff here. So that's the box, and again, they put the arcade games right on the box, and for the most part, they weren't direct one-to-one emulations of the arcade games, but they were pretty close. I mean, they're a lot closer than something like Atari. They were pretty close, but they weren't one-to-one. But it didn't, as a kid, I kind of sensed that, and I could see, like, it's not exactly the same, but it's close enough for government work. I was like, I was mesmerized. And like I said, the whole packaging, the whole presentation of the ColecoVision just spoke to me. I mean, the Atari did, but the Atari just seemed still kind of abstract to me, and still, kind of like it was the rich kid toy, and a ColecoVision was just as expensive. The Atari, I think, was less at that point. But I'm just looking at this little price tag they got on this box here. It says $99.98. I'm assuming that might have been, I don't know. I guess it was like $100. I thought it was more than it was. As I was looking it up, and like the domestic releases and stuff of it, it technically came out in '82, technically, but I didn't get it until '83, and the media blitz didn't really hit until '83. I would say probably, spring, summer. Maybe it did hit in Christmas time. I broke my wrist on my bike that's spring, before summer even started. Still best summer of my life, but I broke my left wrist on my bike. I was riding around the block when I wasn't supposed to, and there's a big hill. It's called North Hill for a reason. There's a big hill in the subdivision, and they had the what do you call it? Like, to keep up the sidewalk went down the hill, obviously like an incline, but to keep the properties level for all the houses as they kind of went down the hill, they would build up the dirt, and then when it came to the dirt would come out to the sidewalk, and then they had these stones that they kind of put, some people had brick, some people had stones, to kind of like, so it didn't look like just earth, it's almost very Minecrafty, it just didn't look like just dirt coming off there, because it was a pretty steep, I mean, it was, if you look down the hill, I mean, the cuts in all the properties were pretty vertical, so they put these stones and stuff on there, so it was the hill to ride down. So you ride down this hill, you hope to hell that somebody doesn't pull out in their car, because if they did, a lot of times, like I said, when you're riding your bike, you're looking at your wheel, or look how fast my feet are going, look how fast I'm pedaling, because things like that, you never looked up, and it happened to me once, and I obviously didn't get too hurt. Got more hurt in this situation, but the one I got hurt, I saw her kind of coming, and I really just couldn't stop, and I looked at the last second, and I hit her. She backed up, and I hit the back where the trunk was. I think she had I don't know what kind of car it was, but a Nova, I think, and I hit the trunk, and I just shot right over the top of the car, and the bike didn't even go under. Just kind of, the bike stopped, hit the car, I flew over the hood, or the thing, and landed on the other side, and you know, just kind of skinned up my arms and stuff like that. You know, she freaked out. She got out and everything. Of course, I was in trouble. That's how it just goes back then. But anyways, it only happened to me once. But I'm surprised it didn't happen more often. Because like I said, we'd just be riding like bats out of hell. And we never looked where we're going. You know, and luckily other people who had vehicles did. Most of the time. I don't know any kid that got hit like that. But I just surprised it didn't happen. Anyways, I went down this hill. And I was going so fast that I kind of lost control a little bit. And I got too close to those stones. Were like big stones that were embedded in the dirt, and they'd stick out. And I got too close to one with the handlebar, and then the handlebar caught the stone. It spun the whole bike around. Yeah, because it was down. It was on my right side. Spun the bike around, and then when I went flying around, it was just kind of slow motion things. The only thing to keep my face from you know, embedding on these jagged rocks sticking out, I put my hand out to stop myself. My left hand just snapped my left wrist. And it's, I don't know if you ever broken a bone, but it scared the shit out of me as a kid. Because the adrenaline was all pumping after wiping out like that. And I went to get up and I went to move my wrist. And it was, you know, it broke all those little bones, those 35 bones or whatever in your wrist. When they're broken, it just shoots this just shooting. I can't even describe. I can sense. I mean, it's been 40 years since this happened, but I can sense it, and it just. Oh my goodness! And I was just like, I freaked. Like, what do I do? I got to ride home. Nobody came out. I got on my bike literally with my hand just like buried into my shirt, like this, and I didn't want. I was scared to even think about moving it. Got on the bike with my right hand, and you know, went back down and went back around and went home. And came in and say, I broke my wrist, you know, and then it was my dad. My dad was there by the house. This is after the divorce. I think my sister was there. I don't think my sister was there. I ended up having to go into Dr. Cheryl Von Voltier was my family practitioner doctor at the time, and she x-rayed it. First time I had an x-ray, and she said, yep, you broke it. And I got a cast, and again, this story isn't about my broken wrist, but I've just put it in context. And like I said, I know I told this story before. So we saw all the media blitz for Colecovision, and we wanted it, or I wanted it specifically. My sister wanted it too. My dad thought it would be cool. So we went to Meadowbrook Mall in Rochester Hills, actually, and we went to Camelot Records, where I used to go to get records, and we also KB Toy Stores next door. I know I told this story before, but I'll make it short. So we go in there. The one guy, it was more expensive at Camelot Records. And then we found it cheaper, significantly cheaper next door. At least I did with my dad. Or was my dad... Or it was me and my sister. Maybe it was sister, but maybe it was... the story was... Somebody was still there talking to the guy, and the guy was an arrogant prick that worked there. Anyways, this kid, and anyways, my dad, and he was just so, you know, like, and he was also we're with the controllers there. I'll talk about the controllers. My dad's like, I think he can. I had my cast on at that time. He's like, you think he can play with this cast? He's like, oh, he can use his index fingers. And blah, blah. He just, you know, just schmuck. So, anyways, I ran next door, came back, and. You know, I told my dad, Dad, it's cheaper next door. Just the look on the guy's face was priceless. I mean, I just wish I had a picture of it. Just the look he shot me, just the dirtiest stink face you possibly could ever think. It was like, with this like 80s kind of new wave, punk rocky kind of dipshit, you know, look, right? His hair and his frickin' new wave shit on. Working at a Camelot Records. Jackass. Anyways, so anyways, my dad's like, oh, we just left, went next door, bought the system, and that's how I got it. And again, it was like the Sega Master System. It was supposed to be a birthday present, I think. This was getting close to my birthday. Remember, this is 1983. I just saw Return of the Jedi. I just broke my wrist. I know school was out, so this had to have been close to my birthday, so it was technically the birthday present for me, for my 10-year-old birthday. And so anyways, we got the system. And the first game that came with it is... I know there's the box here. Let me find the game. The first game that came with it is... what the hell is it? Cosmic Avenger. Yeah, Cosmic Avenger. We didn't have that box because we had the game... Or no, did we? Did it come with the game? You know, I'm not 100% certain. There's an advert for the system. My sister wanted this. The wheel, so she could play Turbo. Turbo was her favorite game. Turbo and Frogger. But, and it's like I said, here are those controllers. They almost look like telephones. Had the coily cord, which is actually a cool idea. And then this big kind of honking thing on there with this keypad, and you had the button. So what I would do is I'd take that and I'd rest it in between my cast, and I could still use my thumb and my finger to click the buttons, and I would do this. Because I would use my right hand, and then I could still click it. And just more pictures of the box here. I love the box. I love the box. There's the system there. And as you can see, they neatly, you know, here's another picture. They neatly fit into this. You like tuck the cord down in there, and they fit into this. I loved the color, like the ColecoVision color. Like I said, the package designs, the game designs, everything about it was just, I loved it. But let's go over to the website here. So here's this ColecoVision DK, and we'll go to the game section, and we'll look up ColecoVision game in details. Go to Cosmic Avenger. As you can see, there's tons of games. I didn't have anywhere near this amount of games, but Cosmic Avenger, there it is. So this was, I love that thing too. I loved this game. You can't really blow these up, but this is not the original packaging, obviously. And I don't remember the game. I know the graphics look like that, but this is not what the game looked like. The game was like the one I just showed you. But here was the game itself. And it was basically Defender. And I love Defender. And you basically did the same thing. I love these little towers and stuff. And then you would just go through and you'd blast stuff, and stuff would shoot at you and blah, blah, blah. But I just remember this, the opening of the ColecoVision screen there. And I think there was like a Darth Vader style UFO thing that would come out and chase after you too. But I loved this game. But yeah, this was the box. Oops, there's the Venture box. Where was the box again? That was the box that we had. Like I said, now I think about it, we did have the box. I don't think it came with the system. I think we had to buy that. It was the first game we bought. And then, of course, I wanted it because my dad also, for Christmas, for '82, I also got this. I don't have a great picture of it, but they also were advertising these. Now, the cool thing about these things, I always just thought they were so cool. I never had the Pac-Man one. The only one I had was Donkey Kong. And I wanted Zaxxon. So here's all the different games. This is the best picture, but they had the Zaxxon one. They had Donkey Kong. They had did they have they had Galaxian. I don't think they had Galaga specifically. So I think that's Galaxian there. But like I said, I've got this. I probably showed you that before. This is my little Galaga, this little handheld Galaga. You can get these now at Meijer. Well, my Meijer has them now. They were at Walmart for the longest time. And there's a Pac-Man. They actually have a Street Fighter 2 one. It's kind of cool. But they have a Pac-Man, they have Gorf. They have Miss Pac-Man. I think they have a Frogger. They have Joust. And you can get these right now. They're about $30. They take batteries here. And they've also got a USB. You can plug in power there. And I'd like to get more of them at some point, but I've had that Galaga for a few years. I got mine at Walmart. But it's essentially the same thing. These things are just bigger. And like I said, that little hood, this little shroud here, I would just sit there with my face like buried in that, and it's just like, you know, and the lights would be off. My dad would be watching TV with the lights off, and it's the only light I see is just my nose buried in this little thing here. And just the music, you know, the Donkey Kong music, and the and I got pretty good at that game. I couldn't play the real game very well. And then also we had two of them. My dad got us electronic football, the Coleco. It's Mattel Electronics. I want to say it was Colecovision. Wasn't it Coleco? So anyways, before that we had stuff like this. I remember the baseball game vividly because for some reason it sat at my mom or my grandmother's house, my mom's mom. Sat at her house like next to the chair for the longest time, and it always had a 9-volt in it. And then somebody, I don't know if it was my cousin Scott or somebody, ended up hooking up an adapter he found from something else, and the adapter fit, and it powered it when the batteries ran out. It sat there next to that chair in her living room for the longest time, and I never took it home. I left it there. So every time I go to my grandma's house, I'd just sit in that chair and I'd play electronic baseball. I liked the baseball game better than the football game. The football game just didn't make sense to me. It was a little too abstract. I didn't get the, get it. But the baseball was pretty simple. It just, you throw out the pitch, and then you hit it with a big red button, and then you run. And if you got a double, you could go to second base. If you got a triple, you could go to third place. If you got the home run, I think everything lit up. And then if somebody caught it in the outfield, the light would light up, and then get an out. And it'd keep, you had visitors and home. I loved that game. And again, I don't have a great picture of it, but I had the Donkey Kong. Here's the box for the Pac-Man. But the Donkey Kong box is very similar. We had I had a friend that had the Pac-Man one. But yeah, I loved these. And like I said, this ColecoVision was just kind of a natural progression from that, and kind of coincided with it, and it was just so cool to me at the time. In the games, I mean, we had Gorf. I pretty much found most of the games that we had. We had Cosmic Avenger, Donkey Kong, Gorf. There's the back of the box. I wanted this loop. Was it called looping? I didn't understand exactly what it was, but it was like an ad for it. And I was just like, I want looping. And I didn't know what it was. I just kept calling it looping. I didn't realize it's like you're looping like a stunt plane. But I just wanted it. I never got it. I also wanted the Smurf game, because the Smurfs were 1983. I mean, it was Smurfsville. And my dad, I still remember my dad, he thought it was the stupidest thing in the world. He's like, what is the Smurf thing? This is so stupid. And then he kept saying Smurf, because they say, oh, Smurf you, or Smurf that, right? So my dad would start saying that, sarcastically. I remember him sitting in the chair singing, he was listening to the Beach Boys sing, let's go surfing now. He's like, let's go smurfing now. Everybody's smurfing now. Come on, do the Smurf with me. He thought it was stupid, but he also got a kick out of that Smurf thing. But anyways, I'm not going to get into the Smurfs at the moment, because that's a whole video unto itself. But they had a Smurf game, and I wanted it. Never got it. I saw it, but never got it. And this was kind of more like the second gen game. This is more like 84, I think, is when that game came out. I didn't check the dates, but I'm pretty sure. I don't think it came out in that 83. Star Castle. I had Star Castle. I loved that game. There was a Star Castle arcade up at Neely's Pub. So a lot of times my dad, he didn't want to cook anything. And he said, let's go up to Neely's, because it was relatively cheap. He wanted to drink, too. So he's like, let's go up to Neely's and get some dinner. And they used to have these, they had this hamburger plate. It was like kids, and they had refills on pop, which at the time, I get refill on Sprite. And I loved Sprite as a kid. And Sprite was relatively new. I like 7-Up too, but that was old. But I liked the Sprite because it was like the new 7-Up. Anyways, it was a refill, and that's when not a lot of restaurants, if any, even give you refills on pop. So you get refills up there, and she'd also squirt grenadine. If you wanted grenadine, she'd squirt grenadine and put a cherry and a sword, and you get that as a kitty cocktail. And anyways. She put, but they had a sit-down game console over where they had like 3 arcades. They had a Kiss pinball machine. They had like a stand-up, I think it was Defender. They had a sit-down, which was Star Castle. And they had one other game, I can't remember what it was. Not a lot of them, but they're in the corner. Eventually that became a karaoke area when I was older. karaoke wasn't a thing back then. But my dad would sit at the table and he would just read, I don't know if he read the newspaper or what he would do. Or I think a lot of times he was just checking out the waitresses. He'd sit up there, he'd sit at the table and he'd give me a bunch of quarters and I'd go over to the games and I'd bring my pop with me. And I always thought it was so cool because I'd sit down at that Star Castle and the lady would come and she'd go, "You want a refill?" I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I do." And she'd refill my pop while I'm sitting there playing Star Castle. And then my dad would say, "Hey, the food's ready." And I go back to the table and just scarf down French fries and bar food. And then, because I'd want to get back to playing Star Castle until my dad got sick of just sitting there by himself and said, "All right," and he'd pay the bill and we'd leave. But then eventually we got Star Castle and it's like, "Oh, I got the game. Now I can just play it at home." Well, he said my sister's game was Turbo. That was her favorite. But we never ended up getting the wheel. She wanted the wheel. But we never ended up getting it. I don't even know if we tell you the truth. I know it was her favorite game, Pole Position. She loved racing game, Turbo and Pole Position. But I don't think we had it. Where was she? She had Pole Position for something. I can't remember. Remember, that's also the year she went away. She graduated high school in '83. So that fall, she went off to University of Michigan, and I still had the game at home. So maybe if we didn't get Turbo, I didn't play it at all. I couldn't figure out racing games as a kid. Too hard for me. But the game I really loved. This is the one I wanted the most, and the story. I'll tell you the story of that. I know I've told it before, but Venture ended up becoming, outside of Cosmic Avenger, Venture became my default favorite, and I didn't even know what it was. Because there was a game called Adventure Time, or not Adventure, it's a TV show. Adventure, I think, or was it Yar's Revenge? I can't remember. There was a game for Atari that was kind of like Venture. And I don't think Atari had Venture, but we got Venture, and it was basically straight up Dungeons and Dragons. And it was sweet. I know you were just an arrow that shot arrows, which were arrows, and I think you had a sword. I think you could switch to a sword. You could shoot arrows for range. So you'd walk into a room and you'd shoot skeletons with an arrow, and then if they got up too close to you, you had to switch to the sword, and you could fight them with the sword. But you go into all these different dungeon rooms, and they had rooms where like the walls would move back and forth, and you had to time it to get around them. And then there'd be a skeleton over there, and you have to go kill the skeleton. And then there's a chest usually somewhere in the room that had the treasure in it. And once you get the chest, ding, he gets it. You had to kill the bad guy first, and then you get the treasure. And then you had to get yourself back out of the room. So if the room still had moving walls, you had to get yourself back out of the room. A lot of times, if you got the treasure, it would trigger more bad guys. I remember I think there was a dragon. I'm pretty sure. I think there was a snake. I know they had the snake on the thing. I thought there was a snake that came out after you too. I'll have to look up some video game play of Venture, but Venture became, like I said, a kid had it that I knew, and then I saw it, and I was like, "Oh, I love this. This is Dungeons and Dragons." And then so I ended up getting it, and that was my all-time Colecovision, all-time favorite games, Venture. I loved this game. There's the cartridge there. That's what the cartridges look like. So I loved this game. I loved the snake Venture thing. I just everything about it. I never saw it in the arcade, tell you the truth. I know it's based on the arcade, obviously, right there. But I never saw it in the arcade. Never had it at Aladdin's Castle. Never had it at the bowling alley, or Video Junction downtown. So there was that. And then, of course, this was, I know you have a good picture of it. This was the end-all, be-all of the universe. Actually, let me go over to, real quick, while I'm talking about it, let's go to the Venture before we get into Zaxxon. Again, that's not the box. And that's not the cartridge, because I just showed you the cartridge. I don't know what this version of the game was, but that's definitely the game there. So, yeah, so here, it was basically you had these little guys, I think they're like skeletons or whatever they were, and you'd go into, they'd be in the hallways outside the rooms, and then you'd wander around, and then, does it show you your cursor, what you look like? I know you're a little arrow. I don't see them. But anyways, so once you go into the room itself, like this room here, then it becomes this room, and then they show, oh, yeah, there you are. Little smiley face with an arrow. and then you'd shoot the skeleton. The skeleton would be like, he's dead. And then you kind of had to kind of follow it. You couldn't shoot diagonally. You had to go. And then you shot the skeleton. And then when you killed the skeletons, you go open up the treasure. Sometimes I think it was locked. You had to find a key. And then here was that room with the move. So these things would move in and out, and you had to time it so you could get in there, get the diamond or whatever it was, and then get out. And then some more boards. And I think these are the dragons. I remember the little lobster, little crabs. There was the ghosts. Oh no, these are the genies with the genie lamp. And it would show you, like, every time you got a specific treasure, it would give you an inventory, and it would tell you, like, you have the key. Like, if you needed a specific key, you'd have to check your inventory to see if you had the key, and then it would tell you all the, like, the gems that you'd get, and it would tell you, like, how many of everything that you had. And it was pretty sweet. I loved this game, and this was my absolute favorite ColecoVision game. And picture here, that's the arcade. I don't remember it ever being in the arcade. 81. Some more pictures of it here. Oh, here, hey, they got some, I don't know, let's turn the sound down. I'm sure it's going to have crazy sound on it. Let's run this real quick. Oh, that's pretty cool. Oh yeah, remember, yeah, they had the staircases. So yeah, once you get in the room, there he is. Oh, you couldn't shoot diagonally. I didn't think you could shoot diagonally. And they would just turn into piles of dust. You go grab the treasure, and then you get the hell out of there. I don't think you had to go through the same door. I mean, I think you could. Oh yeah. So then, if you took too long wandering in the room, this thing would come out after you. It was something that would come. Oh, here we go. So yeah, it was real tight. You had to get out of there, and then get out. That was a thing. But man, I love this game. So you can get the links and stuff to some gameplay on here. But man, this is so cool. Sorry, I'm just keep gushing about it. Cool. Obviously, you know that I like it. So, and then let's just go to what were some of the other games that let's see if they got some gameplay real quick since I found this. And then we'll get to that, and then of course the Holy Grail. Your Star Castle, Gorf, Cosmic. Let's do a little Cosmic Avenger if they can show the arcade. I think it's got it on there. Cosmic Castlevania, Cosmic Avenger. There's the game. Huzzah! Here we go. It's Cosmic Avenger. Yep, there it is. Yep. Oh God, all the little cities in there. I just loved all the color. Everything was very colorful. I love little ship. I used to draw so many little side profiles, little ships that kind of look like Vipers all the time. Yeah, little missiles that come out after you. But yeah, there's Cosmic Avenger. Great game. That also became one of my default favorites. I wasn't expecting. And again, something I never played in the arcade. Let's go to Zaxxon. Let's go. We'll go to the Zaxxon here because my picture sucks. So let's see here how much time we got. All right, we're doing good on time. Zaxxon. So the story with Zaxxon went. Yeah, again, not the box. I hated Zaxxon. I loved Zaxxon, but I hated it. Just the name itself. Anything with Z's and X's, when I was a kid, I was just all gaga over. And it was this isometric view. And I knew what an isometric view was, and I just thought that was cool. It's like, oh, because I used to try to draw isometric stuff with graph paper as a kid. Like, I took regular graph paper and had to figure out with a ruler how to draw things isometrically. Because I saw a Dungeons and Dragons module laid out that way in the dungeon, and so I wanted to make an isometric dungeon, because just making dungeons on graph paper was fun, but to make an isometric dungeon, woo, you were top notch, and not that many kids could do it. And when I could do it, I could impress people. Look at my isometric dungeon, because that's the type of stuff that you do. Just like my son flexes with his friends and how well he can play Master of Puppets. Same thing back then. I could flex on kids and how well I could draw isometric dungeons. But anyways. neither here nor there. But let's look at some of the gameplay for Zaxxon. You've probably seen, obviously, the arcade game. They have the arcade down at the arcade. But I hate the game. It's so frickin' hard. They don't have a video footage of it. Set down version of the Zaxxon. This is the main one I remember with the controller. The game was just so, I couldn't figure out the elevation thing. It drove me crazy. And I tried to play it in the arcade, and of course I died all the time. And so I wanted the game so I could learn how to play it better. And I told my dad this, and my dad just like rolls his eyes. And so anyways, but the problem was Zaxxon, all the games were $19.99, and which was a lot of money back then. It's like $60 back then, like for a first run game now. And but this game was $49.99 in 1983. I mean, that's crazy money. And that fall, because it was fall time, I told this story before, I'll tell it again. Our 19-inch color TV that we had, not the old console TV, but we had a regular box that was sitting on a TV stand. And it was nighttime. I think we had just gotten cable. And my dad we were watching something at night, and the lights were off. We're in the living room, sitting on the couch. He's sitting in the blue chair. And boom, just this huge explosion. Not like a crazy explosion, but just this big zap of sparks. Huge spectacle in the living room. I said, my dad thought the house was on fire. Just this big kind of explosion. The back of this TV just blows out, right? And it was so dramatic. And my dad freaked. And he was just about to call the fire department, and then we realized, oh, nothing's on fire. But you could smell, if you know that smell, you could smell that burning, metal electrical fire. So it caught a little bit on fire, but it went out quick. So we didn't need to call the fire department. But my dad was like, he was pissed. He's like, I think we just got cable, too. He was just like, we just got cable. This might have been 84. No, this was 84, because we didn't get cable. No, we had cable in 83. I'm thinking 84. Something happened in 84. Maybe it was in 84. Literally like the winter of 84, just after Christmas. Because yeah, we already had cable. And the new Star Wars figures didn't come out. So anyways, is how I judge time, is when the Star Wars figures came out. Anyways, so it might have been like winter of 84. And we needed a new TV. So my dad goes, we're going to Highland Appliance tomorrow. First thing in the morning, we're going straight to Highland Appliance tomorrow. I'm assuming it was a weekend. This must have been a Friday night when this happened. It was either Friday or Saturday night, because I didn't go to school the next day. Unless my dad kept me out of school just to go get a TV set. But anyways, which he's done weird things like that. But anyway, I was Mrs. Warlock's class, and he said, yeah, we're going to go to Highland Appliance. I don't know if you remember Highland Appliance. It was like, I think it was just a local store. I don't think they had it in other states. They used to always have the commercials, Highland's Midnight Madness Sale 2 days, 50 watts per channel baby cakes. You don't know what I'm talking about. Look up Highland Appliance commercials, Detroit, Michigan, 80s. They're freaking hilarious. Like this Russian, where's Plotchky? This Russian sub, because, it's 80s, so Russian subs are, sneaking up the Hudson River. Anyways, but they're not coming to nuke New York City. They're coming to sneak to Highland Appliance because they have a Highlands. I should find the video. The commercial's hilarious. Anyways, what was I saying? Highland Appliance, yeah. And Ali Fredder was the other one. But this was like the appliance stores you'd go to get all your electronic needs. And it was down on, I can't remember Highland Appliance. It was down on Oakland Mall. It's like Madison Heights, Troy area, somewhere around there. I can't remember exactly where it was, because it was gone by the time I could drive. So we went down to Highland Appliance, and I remember my dad's looking for a television set. That's all he wants to buy is a television set. We're not buying anything else. We get there. They've got all the game boxes for Colecovision all like strung across like a string, like on the ceiling, like over a display. And there's Zaxxon, and there's a sticker, a big, post-it card or whatever with handwritten prices on it. It's sitting right up there, and it says $19.99. I went, Dad. He's like, no. What? And I go, look what's up there. And he looks up there and he goes, is that Zaxxon? I said, yep. I think the game is $50. Yep. And it says it's $20. Yep. Gives me that look. Let's go look at the TVs. We go look at the TVs. Anyways, I remember we're sitting there looking at the TVs. We got this weird TV that had like this. It wasn't a push button. You just like the sensitivity like of your finger. You just touched it and it would. But you had to dial in the. It was a pain in the ass. We had it for the longest time. 19-inch color television set. And it was pricey back then, and so that was the TV we got. And anyways, I remember saying to the guy, he says, "Hey, those games out there." He says, "You got one out there for 19 at Zaxxon's $20." And he's like, "That's what I think. If it's marked, that's what it is." So we went out there, and I remember there was like the register, and you had to ask the guy because it was just hung up. So you had to ask the person so nobody'd steal the games. And I said, "Hey, do you have Zaxxon?" And he says, I remember he was like sitting in a chair, and he goes like this. Gosh, my stomach popped out. Anyway, he pulls over and he says, "Yeah, right there." And he sticks it on the table. And I said, "Is it $20?" He says, $19.99. And I went, ugh. And of course I'm going to say something. My dad gives me, "Don't say a word." Obviously, that's what they're selling it for. But I wanted to say, "It's supposed to be $50. My dad would have just wrung my neck. He's like, "Don't tell him that." So he said, "Throw the game on there too." And it was like a $200 or $250 bill that my dad had to pay for, Zaxxon at $20 and whatever that TV was. I know it was over $200, and I remember him not being happy about that. We went home and I had to fire that game up, and it took me forever to actually get good at that game. But I finally got relatively competent at it, and I could kind of play it. But again, the game wasn't a direct one-to-one, so it was a little easier than the arcade game, and I was so used to the controls from everything else. Plus, it's comfort here at home. So I ended up having Zaxxon, and you would think that would have been, because that was the holy grail to me back then, that would have been the game, but no, I swear. What do you call it? Venture's the game that did it for me back then. And then Cosmic Avenger, I loved that game. Maybe it's because it was our first game, but I loved that game too. I mean, I like Zaxxon, don't get me wrong. It just wasn't, I love Star Castle. Maybe it was the fact that I couldn't play those other two games like at the bar or at Aladdin's Castle or whatever. Maybe that was what it was. I don't know, but I definitely those are my favorites. So let's talk about, because I didn't have. Let's go into SpectraVision real quick. So what SpectraVision was, and I know this for a fact. This was like late '84. Again, I didn't get a new game for the longest time for ColecoVision, and I played it, but it kind of sat there a lot. I kind of lost interest in it once, because by '84, late '84, we're talking I was balls deep into G.I. It's a weird way to refer to it. Balls deep into G.I. Joe. I was, still totally into. Started kind of wean out of Star Wars, but He-Man and G.I. Joe, and then of course Transformers started. So the holy trinity of the 80s was all in full effect by that time. So, and me being the toy lover that I am over video games, because video games were something new, it didn't, and the video games, as cool as they were, they didn't have enough power to steal us away from action figures at that point. So, it kind of sat there a lot, and I didn't get a new game. But then I got kind of excited because we went to, first let me show you this, if I can find it. So we went to, where was it? KB Toy Store? Yeah, KB Toy Store, where we got the system, back at Meadowbrook Mall. And they had a whole bunch of games that they were clearance, because KB would always clearance their stuff. And they were clearancing a bunch of games. And they were like $5. You know, normally they're $20, $25 or $5 for these games. And I remember they had like a bin up front by the register, and it was filled with these games, and they were all chrome, like silver. Like all the boxes were like metallicized silver. And to me, you know me, I'm all about the package design. And I saw all that silver on those boxes, it blew my mind. Silver! I still love this kid loved silver. Anyways, anything chrome, like paper, you know, like cardboard with like a chrome, you know, veneer on it or whatever. Oh my god, I love that stuff. And anything with like, you know, space or, you know, futuristic lettering on it. So they had these games. I don't know if they had them all, but they had a lot of them. And I remember the tapeworm. And they had them, and they were all clearanced out. And I remember saying, like, Dad, these, and it says some of them said Atari, some of them said Intellivision, and some of them said Colecovision. So you had to make sure you got the right one. I didn't make that mistake. I got the right one. But, and of course, the games that they had were stuff like Nectar or Nexar or whatever it was. I thought it was Nectar always as a kid. I think that's a band. Anyways, yeah, this one's specifically here for the and Sears video game system. Oh, I forgot about the Sears. I never had it, but that's another video for which I'll never make because I never had it. So, anyways, they had this game, but they had all these cool lame space art. Remember my video on lame space art? Everything connects. Everything. My whole world is intertwined. They had lame space art on these, and I just thought that was the coolest thing in the world. And I wanted to get all of them. Obviously, I wanted China Syndrome. I wanted Tapeworm. I wanted Nexar, Planet Patrol, Crossfire. My dad said you can get one. We can always come back and get them. But Dad, and you know, didn't know. I never got any of it. I only got one ever, and it was that game. And it's not pictured here. I'll have to go back to that website. I had Spectron was the game. And let's see, Spectron. I know it's here. So there it is, Spectron. So here was the game I had, and there was the box for it. It's not a great picture of the box. I wish you could blow these up. But anyways, that was the game, and it was Space Invaders. It was Gorf, Space Invaders and Gorf, pretty much. But it's called Spectron, and I loved the box, and I loved the little drawing. It was all chrome, and then the cartridge itself had chrome on it. You know, had this chrome leaf sticker on it. Oh god, I loved it. But and it was all part of the Spectravision games. There is the ColecoVision one, right? You know what? It shows. That's the instruction manual. Oh no, that's it. Yeah, that's right there. ColecoVision. So yeah, I remember the guy at the register said, "Make sure you get the ColecoVision one. It's got a green stripe on it." And that's right. That was the instruction manual inside. So, anyways, that was the game. Let's see if they have some. Oh no, because I don't think they ever had an arcade version of it. But I was hoping they'd have some video game play of it. I mean, it's essentially, like I said, what do you call it? Space Invaders. You know, kind of mixed with. It was kind of all of it together, kind of like Galaga, kind of like Gorf, except for you didn't have. I don't think didn't have the blocks you could hide behind. But anyways, I had that game, and I kept the box. This is when I started keeping boxes, just because I loved the artwork on the box so much. I wanted to keep the box, and yeah. So that was literally the last ColecoVision game I ever had. I liked it. I'm not gonna say it was better than Venture, but I mean, I just liked the box more than anything. I liked the whole idea of it, and I liked the fact that there was this whole series of games called Spectravision with all these chrome boxes. And they all had lame space art for covers. That was more exciting. And the fact that they had them for the ColecoVision, that was more exciting to me than the actual game. But, all right, let's see if we can get into it. I don't know if there's a lot on the site. You would think there would be, since this is ColecoVision. Let me just see what it says here. Homebrew Phoenix Video Games. What's the Phoenix Video Game System? I don't even know what that is. I won't get into that. ColecoVision, so it should be in ColecoVision. So here's just kind of a page for ColecoVision itself. Your vision of our future. Is this the commercial? What?
Introducing The Colecovision ruler controller. With it, your vision.
They had this. I never had this.
Speed over the screen. Fire up or down. It comes with Slither as a bonus. The excitement doesn't stop there. It makes arcade games like Pepper even peppier. Spaceships travel at the speed of light, and apes go ape. Expand your vision with the ruler controller.
Yeah, we never had the ruler controller. But yeah, all those commercials back then, I mean, the commercials worked on me very well. They all had that guy who would talk like this, Dungeons and Dragons, you know, go and, you know, you're a party of adventurers, you know, blah, 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 blah. It got me all excited about it. But, so we're going to go into the Atom, if I can find information on the Atom, which I don't see anything here. I remember the converter. Antenna game. You basically what you do is you hooked up your game system. You take your coax antenna, and then you put the two screws on your coax, and you take that junction box and you put it on your antenna, and then you'd run the coax from the game into the game, and then you had to take the other cord and hook it up to the what do you call it, the RAF clips or whatever. You had those little screws, and then when you wanted to play game, you had to switch that little converter to game, and then when you wanted to switch it to what do you call it, antenna, you switch it back. Now they show a coax on that one, but mine didn't have. We didn't get a. You know, I know the old TV, the TV blew up, didn't have coax on it because. I remember when the cable guy hooked up cable, there was a big thing where he had to run essentially the same type of thing. He had to go to that splitter, and then I remember when the new TV that we got at Highland Appliance had a coax, and then you could run that. I think it had a little adapter is what it came with, and then you could run the coax. But it's coax. I was like saying the word coax. It's very of that time. Yeah, I don't see anything about the Atom. You think it would be in a special spot. So anyways, I'm not going to go into, we're kind of running here on an hour, so I'm just going to go into some stuff about it. I never had this, so obviously there's not a lot to tell. But at that time, remember, I wanted a computer a lot. And they seem to have a lot of this type of stuff that was available, and so one of the things obviously was this Atom. It was the ColecoVision Atom, and it had it's 80K of RAM or memory. It had it was one giant box. It had a cassette, so we had a regular cassette drive in it, not the like the tape drives. It had it built into the unit. The unit itself would hook up to your ColecoVision. There's a front port that you would use to like hook in the steering wheel, or hook in the what do you call it, that roller ball he was talking about in that commercial. You could hook that up, and so you would hook that into there, and that's basically your CPU. And then you had a keyboard that had a coily cord out of it, and then you could also use your controllers through it. They started to have games for the Atom on cassette that you could get. And then it did come with a color printer, which is amazing at the time. Color in quotations. And of course, I wanted one as a kid. I would find ads in magazines and comic books and show my parents, look, I'll be smart like this guy if I have a computer. And that, like I said, that was my theory as a kid. In order to bullshit my parents to buy me some new toy, the easiest way to do it is to try to convince them that it would make me smarter. Because I honestly thought if I got a computer, it would like somehow increase my intelligence. Because I would listen to the propaganda. Oh, it helps kids prepare for college. Blah 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 blah. But I didn't. I mean, I wanted to use it as a computer. I didn't really know what computers did back then. But, I just wanted to play games on it. I wanted to play games and screw around. And I did want to learn how to program, to be a computer programmer at the DeVry Institute. I just thought that was cool. I was like, I want to wear a short sleeve white short sleeve dress shirt with a clip-on tie, and have giant oversized glasses where my cheeks don't need to see, and a nerd essentially. I want to be that guy, and I want to go and go to a computer company and program, just like in Tron, and sit there in a cubicle in this space age office and program, Tron. That's what I wanted to do. That was just in my head. That's what I wanted to do in life, and play games. But obviously none of that ever happened, and we never got the atom, so therefore I remain stupid. My intelligence was not increased 100-fold by acquiring the atom. And there it is. There's a box of it there. There's another box of it there. But yeah, I think this one actually, did this one come with the ColecoVision? Expanded Module 3 Module Expansion Pack. I don't think it does. I think you had that. And I think you could still run, I'm not 100%, because I never had it. I think you could run the Atom as a regular computer without the ColecoVision, but maybe you needed the ColecoVision. I can't remember. But I mean, even think about it. You're in for a TV, color TV, say $150. You didn't have to have the fancy one my dad yet. You want nobody had a 19-inch TV that was your house TV, was 19-inch TV. Your little TVs were 13-inch. You had let's say a 13-inch color television set, $100 back then. You're into it, 150, 200 for the ColecoVision. You're up to like 350 now. I think this thing was like $300. It was pretty expensive, that's why I never got it. Might not have been that much. I'd have to look up and see what it listed for. But and you get all this peripherals and stuff. You're looking at around $500, right? And that's a lot of money, and that's like $1,500, $2,000 today. But you got to think about it. To buy like an Apple IIe then was like $2,500 then. So imagine how much that would cost in today's money. If you wanted like I said, that's why like the Commodore VIC-20 and the Commodore 64, they were economical because you could use a television set for a monitor. It was a pretty simple thing. Again, the tape drive or the disc drive's what really jacked the price up. But obviously this one, you got the tape drive comes with it. Oh, that's right. Then I think it did work as because that's why it came with the controller, 2 controllers. I think it worked like that. And you could put the cartridges in there, I think. But again, I'm not sure. I'd love to have one of these. That'd be so cool. Not that I would ever use it. I just want to sit there and look at it and just think it was 1983, 1984 again. All of this stuff. And I think right here, this exists. I think I've seen this, but I think it kind of sold out before I was going to get a copy. But this is like, I got the little mini Nintendo. This is a mini ColecoVision, and it had Venture. That's one of the reasons I want this. I'd have to go and see how much, if you can even still get it. 60 built-in games, has more games than I ever had. Includes authentically designed controllers, so the controllers are pretty close to what it looked like. I gotta see if this is still available. I would get this. If it's like $50, I would probably buy this. This could be kind of cool. I would love to have, obviously, a ColecoVision. Working ColecoVision just be cool to have. But again, do I need this stuff? No. Do I want it because I have, pipe dreams of owning all the stuff I had as a kid? Yes. But if I never get it, it's not going to be the end of the world. But I should check into that and see if anybody owns that, let me know. And it, obviously, it should go without saying, if anybody had a ColecoVision, you got your ColecoVision stories, hit me with the stories in the comments. Let me know, let me know your ColecoVision stories. Did you break your wrist and trick your dad into getting a video game system and have a big snafu with Camelot Records? And did you have any of that stuff happen? Did your TV blow up and you had to go to Highland Appliance and get a new TV and then trick your dad into buying Zaxxon because it's $20, not $50? If so, let me know about it. Or like I said, if you got a story, hit me with a story. And let me know if this is something that you had as a kid. Obviously, this video is not going to get a lot of likes because unless you had this stuff, you probably don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe you remember the ColecoVision, maybe you don't. Maybe you had the Atari and you didn't have this, who knows. But if you like the video and you like all these videos and you kind of like following my little stories, you know, click the subscribe button. Help me. I've got 205, I think, which I'm making pretty good headway now with people. It seems like if I just post a Kiss or Ace Frehley video every so often, you know, they're gonna, people seem to jump on my stuff. None of the Kiss people ever end up watching my, you know, my other videos, but it is what it is. So, all right, let me know. This video, I'm going to be posting it next Wednesday to follow my posting schedule. So this will be the last video I do until Christmas break, and so I will be a new video will be posting the following Wednesday. So if this post is on the Wednesday before I leave out of town, I'm coming back. Well, I'll be coming back Tuesday, late Tuesday, but Wednesday would be the next day I'm going to post a video. I'm going to make a video over the weekend, obviously, for that day, but just letting you know in this video that if you're watching this new, that's because it's Wednesday, right before Christmas, so just letting everybody know that. So I'll be back. So don't freak out if you even care, because most people probably don't even care. They didn't go anywhere, didn't stop making videos, and I'll have some time over the Christmas. Obviously, I'm going to do. I think there's some things coming from Santa Claus. I think I'm going to make some videos on that, and you know, so I'll have some fresh material. Hopefully, I'll think up some new jokes, get some new bits to say as well. But all right, let me stop this one because we just hit an hour. So I will catch you on the flip side. All right, bye-bye.